Okay, so let's look at the lighting. I think I'm just going to get rid of this light right now and start over with the new Cosmos HDRI. And we could also use the V-Ray Sun for this, but let's try with the HDRI first. So in Cosmos, we'll go down here, HDRIs. And we want to get something with more direct light going on. So daytime is what we want. And I want one with an exposed sun that's not behind the clouds. Okay, so that one, this one. Let's go with this one. This is day 029 in my version of Cosmos, by the way. Okay, that puts it right in the center of our screen. I'm going to drag it out here and again set it up so that we can lock the texture icon. And I want it from basically that same angle it was at before, because I don't want it like behind the camera. If you put it here, then it's going to light all these faces, all these front faces of like the couches and stuff, equally with these faces. Let's look at it from this view. So I don't want this face and these faces lit the same. So I'm going to put it kind of behind the couches, coming from behind the couch, so these ones get dark, and the ones with the sun coming this way get more light. Let's render it and see what I'm talking about. Okay, here you can see the lighting. Obviously it's way too bright because we didn't adjust the intensity of the light at all, but we can always go into light mix and turn that down. Light mix is great. Okay, so I really like how the lighting is working over here, but you can see the sun is still too high in the sky, and so it's not coming in and giving direct light inside my house. So everything is still very flat because it's all evenly lit. Okay, so maybe V-Ray Sun will need to come into play here, where I can place it exactly how I want it. Now, the other thing you could do is put a bunch of interior lights in here and warm up this area right here. Hang a lamp through there and light this up. Okay, you could do that too. But I want this to be more of a daytime scene where all the light is natural light. And you've got all these windows in here, so really, unless it was pretty dark outside, most of the time the main lighting would be coming from outside. So let's use a V-Ray Sun and see what we can do there. So I deleted the HDRI, and let's go to V-Ray, go to Create Light, V-Ray Sun, and we'll put something from a similar angle except lower in the sky. Would you like to add a V-Ray Sky environment map? Yes. And we'll put it only about that high in the sky. Maybe there. Okay, now if you go into environment, your V-Ray Sky will be there, and it'll have use map checked. So for our background and for the environment light, it will all just be connected to the sun using a V-Ray environment. If we render that, okay, this looks very dramatic. We need to turn the environment on in our light mix. Okay, now we can see. And then we need to turn our V-Ray Sun down. And maybe our environment down too. They're kind of being controlled separate from each other here, which is kind of strange, but that's how it's working. Okay, I think this is looking better, but now probably too dramatic, right? So yeah, we definitely have some nice lighting situations going on here, but the shadows are too long, so it's creating these big shapes like this long distracting shadow here, these odd shaped shadows here. Okay, so something in between is kind of what we want. Let's adjust further. What I'm going to do here is, instead of turning down the sun in light mix, I'm going to turn it way down here. Okay, now the environment will kind of be linked to that same level. And then we can go into here, go into the frame buffer, and we will just do the interactive rendering. We'll make this a little smaller. We'll put this back up to 1 and 1. Okay, and then we'll just adjust the exposure a little bit. Make it brighter. There. So we're getting essentially the same results now. But let's select our light, our V-Ray Sun. This is the V-Ray light lister, which I have a little button for here. You may not have that if you don't have my exact same UI, in which case it would probably be in the V-Ray toolbar up here, V-Ray light lister. Okay, but with the V-Ray light lister, we can select the V-Ray Sun by hitting here, even while we're in interactive, right? And then we can just lock that selection in, lock it in, and then we can start moving it. So what we'll do is right click over here, and since our sun is locked in, we can right click and hit move, and it's going to move the sun. So let's say we move it to 300 feet above, which is just going to change the angle, right? So interactively, sort of interactively, my computer's kind of slow, especially when recording, but we will see things change over here in the interactive scene. Okay, so that's too high now. It's being blocked by that big overhang out there. So maybe 200 is where we want to go. We got to find the right balance between too high and too low here. Okay, maybe 200 is about the right size, but I'm thinking now that we need to go... Let's move this off screen. I think maybe we need to do something like this. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks okay. I think my hopes of getting everything nicely lit using only outdoor light is failing because of that giant overhang out here over my porch, right? There's no way to kind of get the light coming in here nicely without hitting that overhang. So I'm either getting it to come just by the window, or I'm getting super long shadows coming all the way across. So maybe we will need to set up some interior lighting to kind of balance everything out. Okay, but these are the kind of things we need to experiment with in order to try and get a nice scene. In the next lecture, I'm going to bring in my completed test file, the one that I was working on, that has a lot more Cosmos stuff here and a lot more lighting figured out and set up. And I've kind of gone through a lot of this already, and we can look at some of the different things that I set up in there using these exact same principles, and we can use that scene to kind of come up with something that we consider a final rendering.